I need to write some more down. Before I write anything more down, I need to clarify what I'm doing. I'm teasing you. I'm trying to extend. I'm trying to push you. Once upon a time, we buy an item of plant for $20,000. It has a 10-year life. Obviously, there's going to be a depreciation charge of $2,000 a year. Now, I'm linking this. Because we are buying this asset, the government is giving us a loan of $10,000 for 2 years. Now, when the government gives us a loan of $10,000 for 2 years, it's 0 interest. So we borrow the money. Hey, look, if I said to you, I'll lend you $10,000 for 2 years, no interest charged, what would you say?
Thank you.
Thank you, yes. Yeah, you would bite my hand off. I would be doing you a favour. I would be helping your business if I gave you an interest-free loan. So maybe the government is not handing out grants in the direct form of here is money, don't pay me back, but it's giving assistance in the form of interest-free loans. So the government, we are borrowing from the government $10,000. We will pay no interest on that loan. But if we had to borrow the money from the bank, if the market rate of interest, the interest rate is 10%. So the government is giving us this soft loan because we are buying the asset. The government is giving us this soft loan, this interest-free loan, because we are buying the asset. Now, the numbers are going to come into play at the death. The numbers are going to be the last thing that I do. The first thing that I want to do is to explain. First of all, are you happy that this is a government grant? There's a government grant involved. The government is helping the business because it's giving it an interest-free loan. And the reason for that loan is because of buying PPE, so it's a capital grant. So there is a capital grant, there is financial assistance, and it is a capital grant. How do we work it out? I receive the cash, debit cash. I debit cash 10,000.
The grant will basically the interest payments that we will not be paying, so that will be going towards the grant.
Yeah, so I debit cash 10,000 and credit liability because I've got to pay the money back. How much money do I have to pay back? Discounted, yeah. We said that if a government grant is received in the form of cash, it's not a problem, but if it's received other than in cash, it has to be recognised at fair value. And we're looking here, I think, at a level 3 fair value. This initial recognition of the liability, the obligation we have is to pay back 10,000 in 2 years' time. Now, the obligation to pay back 10,000 in 2 years' time, in today's monetary terms, can be discounted at 10%. So, I'll do the numbers in a minute, but let's say it is not 10,000, it is 9,000. So we discount it to 9,000. Debit cash 10,000, credit liability 9,000, and we've got a grant, we've got a financial assistance of 1. That grant would then have to be spread to the P&L over its 10-year life. So a government grant could be in the form of cash, could be in the form of loan, could be in the form of land. You know, there's different ways that governments can help out. So, I'll continue making a little bit of a note here. The government is giving us a soft loan, interest-free loan, because we are buying the asset. This represents a financial benefit. This represents a financial benefit and is a capital grant as it relates to buying PPE. So this represents a financial benefit and is a capital grant as it relates to buying PPE. The obligation, this represents a financial, I think we should all go home. Please, come on, be nice to me, come on. Thank you. Oh. Stay. This represents a financial benefit and is a capital grant as it relates to buying PPE. The obligation to repay 10,000 in 2 years' time is measured at fair value, i.e. present value. So the obligation to repay the 10,000 in 2 years' time is measured at fair value, in other words, the present value. So I can take the obligation to repay 10,000 in 2 years' time is measured at fair value. In other words, the present value. So the liability, the initial recognition of a liability, should be at fair value. So it ties in a little bit with IFRS 9, if anybody remembers IFRS 9. So what we're doing is that liability of 10,000, is going to be measured at 1.1 to the power 2. And that's the kind of discounting I like. So 10,000 divided by 1.21, that is giving me here 8264. So when we physically receive the cash we are receiving is 10,000. The amount of the liability that is being measured at fair value, which is 8264, and you therefore have a grant. You have a financial assistance of the balance, which is 10,000 minus 8264, which is a figure of 1736. That grant would then be spread to the P&L over the period, and for me, it's easier if we keep things separate. So this would then be spread. To P&L, over 10 years. This would then be spread to P&L over 10 years to provide your matching. Government grants. Very, I don't know what the word is. Yeah, it's a relatively simple standard, but in the hands of the P2 examiner, 3 or 4 marks can be quite challenging, Right, I'm going to spend 1 minute without saying anything. I'm just going to shuffle these bits of paper to make sure they're in the right order.
So the liability for 8264 is at the beginning of the period.
Yep, that would be on day one. That is correct.
Ending of the period, I have to increase by the 10%. Right?
Yes, yes, you would. Yes, there would be an unwinding of the discount. That is absolutely correct.
Same goes for the second year.
Yes, yes, yes. So it would grow.
Okay, means but only up to second year because the payment made by on the second year.
Correct.
Then how about the split of the 10 years just now? The split of the 10 years.
Okay, let's just follow that through to the ultimate death then. For clarification purposes, let's touch on a little bit of financial instruments. The liability is then going, because the liability is discounted, there will be an unwinding of the discount. Yeah? So there will be a finance cost on the liability. Yeah? There will be a finance cost on the liability. Yeah, which represents the unwinding of the discount. So like we did in pensions, yeah, there will be a finance cost on the liability, there will be an unwinding of the discount. Like we do on deferred consideration, like we do on pensions, yeah, like we do on finance leases, like we do on financial instruments, there's an unwinding of the discount. So let's see the whole thing, yeah, how that would be in the financial statements after 1 year. So what would you have in your balance sheet after 1 year? Well, after 1 year, you would have a non-current asset, you would have PPE. Let me keep it simple and let me keep it separate. The cost of that asset was 20,000, had a 10-year life, so the depreciation would have been 2. So in your P&L, you've got depreciation, and you've got depreciation of 2. So first thing I've done there is to record the asset being depreciated over 10 years. I think we're happy with that. Second thing is you will have a loan. Now presumably the loan will be a current liability now because it's a 2-year loan, so it's payable in 1 year. So we'll have a current liability which represents a loan. The original amount of the loan was 8264, but the loan will attract interest. What's the finance? What do we discount it at? 10%. So I will add 826, and there will be a finance cost. There will be a finance cost of 10%. There will be a finance cost of 826. 8264 plus 826 is ultimately giving me 9090. There'll also be the grant. Now the amount of the grant that you will release to the P&L, as the grant relates to the asset, it gives you a benefit for 10 years. So the grant is released to the P&L over 10 years. And the amount of the grant was 1736. So 1/10 of that